In JavaScript, we have two types of conditional statements. We have if and else and switch and case. You're going to learn about if and else in this lecture, and we'll look at switch and case in the next lecture. So imagine in our application, we're going to get the current hour, and depending on its value, we're going to greet the user with a different message. So if the hour is between, let's say 6 a.m. and 12 p.m., we're going to display something like good morning. Similarly, if it is between 12 p.m. and 6 p.m., we're going to display good afternoon. Otherwise, we're going to display good evening. So we want to have some logic like this in our application. That's where we use if and else. So we start with if, then we add parentheses, and in between these parentheses, we add a condition. If this condition evaluates to true, the statement that we put after will be executed. Now, if you have multiple statements, we need to put them in between these curly braces. We refer to these as a block of code, okay? Now, optionally, we can have another condition. So we write else if, once again, parentheses, another condition. Now, if this condition is true, then this other statement will be executed. And similarly, if we have multiple statements, we need to surround them with curly braces, like this. Also note that, as a convention, when we want to define a block of code, we put the first curly brace on the same line, not here. That's kind of ugly in JavaScript, so take that into account. Now back to our if and else, we could have yet another condition, like this, yet another condition. We can have as many conditions as we want. There is no limitation. And once again, here we can have one or more statements. Now, optionally, if none of these conditions evaluate to true, we can use else to execute one or more other statements. So this is the basic structure. Now, we want to get this logic and map it into this structure. It's very easy. So let's start with our first condition. If hour is between 6 a.m. and 12 p.m., so that's the condition, and the statement we want to execute is good morning, okay? So I'm going to declare a variable here, hour, and set it to 10. Now, in a real-world application, we want to read the current hour. For now, let's not worry about getting the current time and just hard code this number here, 10, okay? So we want to compare the value of hour with these two numbers. Now, for simplicity, let's go with 24-hour time format. So we want to see if hour is greater than or equal to 6 and hour is less than 12. You learned this in the last section, right? So here we're using these comparison operators. We have two expressions. Here's the first one, here's the second one, and we're applying the logical AND in between them. So if both these expressions evaluate to true, then the result of this expression will also be true. Now let's add the statement. We want to display good morning. And of course, we need to terminate this statement with a semicolon. Now here's my suggestion for you. If you want to master JavaScript, pause the video now and continue implementing this logic using if and else. Then come back, continue watching, and see my solution. All right, let's continue. Here's the second condition. We want to check to see if hour is between 12 and 18. So, very easy. If hour is greater than or equal to 12 and it's less than 18, we want to display good afternoon. So console.log good afternoon. Now, in this example, we don't need this other else if because otherwise we want to display good evening. So let's delete this. Otherwise, we do a console.log of good evening. Now, in this example, because we're dealing with a single statement, these curly braces are getting in the way and creating noise in the code. So it's better to get rid of them and simplify the code. Here's another pair. Okay, that's better. Now save the changes. We get good morning here. If I change the hour to 13, we get good afternoon. And if I change this to 20, we get good evening. So this is all about if and else. In the next lecture, you're going to learn about switch and case.